There exists within every human being a power so primal, so instinctual, that it lies at the core of both our biological survival and our highest artistic expressions. This is the force of sexual energy, not merely an impulse for reproduction, but a wellspring of creativity, vitality, and psychological transformation. It is misunderstood when reduced to carnal urges alone. In truth, it is the raw material from which dreams, myths, inventions, and inner revolutions are born. Sexual energy is life force energy. It moves first through the body as a hunger, but it does not end there. What begins in the lower body can rise to the highest mind. It can illuminate ideas, awaken visions, and shape the soul. This same energy that creates life biologically also creates life symbolically. It is the spark behind every authentic act of creation. When it is not squandered or suppressed, but acknowledged and honored, it becomes the fuel for transformation. Throughout time, mystics, artists, philosophers, and warriors have recognized this. The disciplined channeling of sexual energy has been the quiet secret behind many masterpieces and moments of enlightenment. It is not a matter of denying the body, but of listening deeply to what the body offers and learning to refine its signals. For what is libido but the voice of the unconscious yearning to create, to express, to become? In its raw form, this energy demands expression. If blocked, it may erupt as chaos, compulsion, or emotional stagnation. But when understood, when given a vessel, a ritual, or a purpose, it becomes a sacred fire. This fire is not just passion, it is transformation itself. It burns away dullness and breathes vitality into every cell. It becomes the rhythm behind music, the color in a painting, the flow of language in poetry, the courage in a breakthrough idea. Children are born from it, yes, but so are books, movements, technologies, and revelations. It is the same force. The same primal electricity that ignites the act of love also ignites the imagination, and the body knows it. When this energy is flowing, not abused, not addicted to, not feared, we feel more alive. Skin glows, posture straightens, breath deepens. The mind grows sharper, not because it is detached from the body, but because it is finally in tune with it. In the modern world, the power of this energy is often misrepresented. It is commodified, trivialized, or turned into distraction, but its deeper nature remains untouched by distortion. Like water flowing beneath the surface of a dry land, it waits for recognition, not to be exploited, but to be realized, integrated, and honored as sacred. To reclaim this energy is not to become more primitive, but more whole. It is to know that we are not divided between body and spirit, but unified by a current that flows through both. This current is creative in essence. When one learns to feel it, contain it, and move with it rather than against it, they gain access to a dimension of themselves that is regenerative. It is not a metaphor, it is real. Energy rises, flesh becomes breath, becomes light, in light in turn becomes expression. This is the ancient pathway of inner transformation. This is the unseen engine behind authentic vitality. Sexual energy is not separate from life. It is life. It is the seed of becoming, the whisper of what could be, the latent flame within the ordinary moment. It longs to create not only more life, but more meaning. And when it is seen clearly, felt fully, and used wisely, it becomes the key that unlocks both the body's deepest strength and the mind's clearest vision. Desire is not a flaw. It is a signal, a surge of longing that tells us life is moving, stirring, hungering to evolve. But desire is double-edged. It can liberate or ensnare. It can lead a person to greatness or into endless repetition. The difference lies not in the desire itself, but in what one does with it. Among the most powerful forces that reside here is sexual energy, not only as a physical impulse, but as a symbolic current representing life, death, transformation, and renewal. To regenerate the self, one must descend into this inner landscape and begin the alchemical process of integration. Inner alchemy is not the pursuit of perfection. It is the honest meeting of opposites, light and shadow, instinct and intellect, chaos and order. Integration is not achieved by crushing the darker aspects of the self or pretending they do not exist. It is realized by acknowledging them, feeling them, and giving them a rightful place within one's conscious awareness. What is denied festers, what is integrated transforms. Sexual energy, when unexamined, can create confusion, fixation, or fragmentation. But when brought into conscious awareness, it becomes a profound agent of regeneration. Its presence in dreams, fantasies, projections, and compulsions is never random. It signals something deeper that calls to be known. The psyche speaks in symbols, and often desire is the symbol. Often desire is the symbol. It points toward unlived aspects of the self, the rejected feminine in the man, the denied masculine in the woman, the wildness suppressed by discipline, or the vulnerability hidden beneath armor. The work of integration begins by listening. Not reacting, not judging, but listening to what these inner energies are trying to say. One must approach the self as a whole system, not as a battlefield where the good must defeat the bad, but as a living organism seeking balance. Every part of us carries information. Every impulse holds a piece of the puzzle. The energy of desire is no exception. It is a messenger from the depths bringing the raw materials of transformation. This is the essence of inner alchemy, to take what is unconscious and make it conscious, to feel what was once feared, to reclaim what was once exiled. The integration of sexual energy does not mean acting on every impulse. It means understanding the impulse, tracing it to its source, and asking what it is truly seeking. Often, behind the erotic image or the compulsive fantasy is a part of the self that longs to be seen, held, or expressed in another form. As these hidden parts are brought into awareness, a great shift occurs. The psyche begins to move from fragmentation toward coherence. Energy that was once trapped in internal conflict is released. Vitality returns, not from stimulation, but from wholeness. One feels more alive, not because the outer world has changed, but because the inner world is no longer at war with itself. In ancient traditions, this process was depicted through symbols: the union of sun and moon, the marriage of king and queen, the transformation of lead into gold. These are not external events, they are inner realities. The masculine and feminine within must meet. The shadow must shake hands with the light. The fire of desire must blend with the water of intuition. It is through this sacred union that the self is reborn, not as an ideal, but as an integrated being, grounded and illuminated. Regeneration does not come from escape or denial. It comes from descent into the body, into the dreams, into the irrational and the uncomfortable, into the very places we have feared to go. For there, buried in the dark soil of the unconscious, lie the seeds of new life. Sexual energy, when acknowledged and honored, becomes the heat that germinates those seeds. It becomes the fire that softens old structures and allows something new to emerge, not imposed, but organic, not borrowed, but deeply one's own. The body is not separate from the mind. It is the soil from which thought grows. It is not the shadow of intellect. It is the vessel of it. Too often we imagine that the path to clarity lies in rising above the body, escaping sensation, transcending flesh. But the truth is subtler, deeper. The body does not obstruct the mind, it grounds it. And sexual energy, when understood and cultivated, reveals this intimate, inseparable union between body and mind. This energy is not abstract. It lives in breath, pulse, posture, voice. It stirs in the hips, coils in the spine, glows in the chest, and blooms behind the eyes. It is the river of aliveness flowing through the physical self, influencing not just desire, but emotion, attention, focus, intuition. It animates dreams, propels action, and shapes perception. And when this energy flows in harmony, the mind becomes clear, not from silence alone, but from alignment. The body in its wisdom holds everything the conscious mind forgets. Traumas live in the muscles, unspoken fears rest in the jaw. Longings unexpressed vibrate in the diaphragm. Sexual energy, being primal and potent, touches all of this. It stirs what lies dormant. It awakens not just pleasure, but memory. It carries within it the capacity to heal if one is willing to listen to the language of the body. To connect with this energy is to reconnect with life itself, but it must be approached not through indulgence, nor suppression, but awareness. When sexual energy is respected, not denied, not scattered, it strengthens the foundation of the body. One feels rooted, vital, alert, and this somatic vitality feeds the mind. Thoughts become less fragmented, attention becomes steady, the nervous system settles, yet vibrates with presence. This is not the dull calm of detachment, it is the radiant calm of embodiment. Modern culture often splits the two, mind and body, as if they are in conflict. One is expected to dominate, the other to submit. But true clarity comes not from domination, but from relationship. The mind must descend into the body, and the body must rise into the mind. Sexual energy is the bridge. It binds thought to sensation, image to instinct, vision to flesh. It teaches the mind to feel and the body to think. This connection brings regulation. When sexual energy is not constantly discharged or denied, it builds coherence in the system. The breath deepens. The heart rhythm balances. The brain enters states of flow. One becomes more capable of stillness, not by force, but because the inner noise has quieted. Sexual energy is not chaotic by nature. It becomes chaotic only when fragmented or ignored. In its integrated form, it is the most concentrated form of life force. It harmonizes systems, endocrine, emotional, cognitive, by anchoring them to the present. And it sharpens perception, not only of the external world, but of the inner one. A person tuned into their sexual energy begins to perceive nuance, subtle shifts in mood, tensions in the body, the fine thread between impulse and wisdom. This awareness builds a kind of intelligence that cannot be learned from books. It is embodied knowing. It is the instinct that recognizes truth before logic confirms it. Such a person begins to move differently through the world. Not with arrogance, but with presence. They speak not louder, but clearer. Their decisions become rooted in both instinct and insight. Their creativity deepens. Their relationships shift, not because of technique, but because of coherence. Others feel the difference, even if they can't name it. There is a quiet power in someone who is at home in their body and awake in their mind. This union is not mystical by nature. It is biological, emotional, and psychological. It requires no belief system, only attention. To feel deeply is to think clearly. To inhabit the body is to open the mind. And to honor the currents of sexual energy is to restore the original rhythm between the two, the rhythm that was never truly lost, only forgotten in the noise of disconnection. There is a sacred force hidden beneath the noise of the world, beneath the racing of thoughts, the impulse of desire, the performance of identity. It reveals itself not in action, but in stillness, not in expression, but in restraint. In that quiet place where nothing is forced and nothing is denied, the raw energy of sexuality begins to change form. It does not vanish, it deepens. This is the mystery of sublimation, the transformation of instinct into vision, of longing into light. Sublimation begins where noise ends. The world teaches endless stimulation, continuous motion, gratification without pause. But the deeper movement of life is the opposite. It is inward. The sexual energy that arises within is not only for the body to act on, it is for the soul to witness. And this witnessing happens in stillness. Witnessing happens in stillness. Not repression, not denial, but conscious presence. The ability to hold an inner fire without reaching to extinguish it. In silence, desire expands, not into chaos, but into insight. What once appeared as a craving begins to reveal its roots. Is it hunger for touch, or for connection, or for connection? Is it lust for another, or grief for the parts of oneself unlived? Stillness makes these questions audible. It brings clarity not by removing energy, but by slowing its release. The same energy that once demanded action becomes a guide, a compass, a teacher. This is the essence of sublimation. The heat of desire, when not discharged outward, begins to refine itself. It changes color. It begins to rise. What was once tangled in physical sensation becomes sensation in the heart, then thought in the mind, then inspiration in the spirit. The body remains alive, but now it serves a higher rhythm. The fire is no longer wild. It is purposeful, focused, sacred. Practices of inner stillness, meditation, solitude, breathwork, creative absorption create space for this alchemy to occur. Not as rituals of escape, but as containers. In such spaces, one learns the value of inner tension. Desire held, not acted upon, generates power. That power sharpens perception, strengthens will, opens new channels of creation. It is not that energy disappears, it is that energy finds form. In this state, clarity arises. The mind no longer operates in isolation, but is fed by a deeper source. Ideas are not forced, they emerge. Words come not from memory, but from depth. The body hums with vitality, yet the heart is quiet. One feels not empty, but full. This fullness does not clamor for release. It radiates outward in subtle influence, in presence, in gaze and gesture. Sublimated energy is not hidden, it is transfigured. This transformation is ancient. It is the origin of sacred art, divine poetry, illuminated action. It is the silent force behind the monk's serenity, the artist's vision, the sage's clarity. They are not immune to desire. They have become intimate with it. They have listened to it until it changed. They have allowed silence to speak louder than instinct. Stillness is not passivity. It is attention so complete that nothing escapes it. In this attention, sexual energy becomes transparent. It reveals its hidden longing for union, not only with another, but with the self. It seeks not only pleasure, but wholeness. And when it is allowed to rise through the central channel of being, through breath, imagination, discipline, and love, it returns as wisdom, as insight, as peace that does not depend on fulfillment. In this state, the body and mind are no longer at odds. The individual is no longer split between desire and duty. There is no compulsion to act and no fear of acting. One simply watches, and in that watching, something higher unfolds, not away from the body, but through it. Woo it. The sexual current is no longer an interruption to the spiritual path. It becomes the path itself, rewritten in silence, held in stillness, and carried forward by the sacred discipline of sublimation.